Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sharon Madar, most of you know me already. I'm an account executive here at Stratoscale and I'm excited to be hosting this session today. Today is our first session and we'll focus on VPC and how to transition from legacy networking to VPC. I hope you will find it really helpful. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Liaz Kamper. Liaz has been with Stratoscale for over 5 years and is a member of our Cloud Architects team, and he knows Symphony inside out. Now, before I hand the mic over to Liaz, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation. So, firstly, today's webinar will take approximately 20 minutes, followed by Q&A. The webinar will be available on demand after the live session, and we'll send out the recording by email. Now, if you have any questions for our speaker, please feel free to send it through the Ask a Question tab, and we'll answer questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to your question answered during the webinar today, then we'll be sure to follow up afterwards. Your opinion is very important to us, so during this session, we'll also run a poll to learn more about the topics you would like for us to cover in the future sessions. So, without any further ado, I'd like to kick things off by welcoming Liaz. Liaz, over to you.
Thanks, Sharon. Hi, everybody. I'm Liaz. I'm leading the developer advocacy, and I'm also a cloud architect. I've been with Stratoscale almost from the beginning, starting the networking team, and I'm very pleased to see all the progress that we've done in networking. We started with legacy networking, which some of you may still use. We'll find out soon enough. And we're heading now towards working only with VPC networking. VPC networking is the networking concept of the AWS API. We have this in the product for quite some time, and we're getting very good feedbacks about using it. And it's great for infrastructure as code and other DevOps flows that we see here in the public and the private cloud, of course. And I think it's a good time to stop and guide you guys toward the VPC networking. And we'll start from the beginning. So first, let's put everything in context. So I'm going to go a little bit about the cloud native approach of Stratoscale and see where the networking VPC fits in. Then we'll introduce VPC terms. We'll go through VPC, of course, subnet, internet gateway, elastic IPs, maybe DHCP options if time allows. We'll compare things to legacy networking. We'll go through all the operations on the VPC UI. And briefly, we'll touch maybe VPC peering and DNS. So what are we talking about when you say cloud native experiences? Everybody knows AWS, right? So AWS has tons of services, have over 200 storage, compute, all kinds of databases, analytics, events, networks, and so on. So you consume all of them using APIs, using all sets of tools such as IAC, infrastructure as code, all kinds of SDKs, and so on. In the enterprise environment, so far, things were pretty stale. You had virtual machines, but you couldn't really consume it like the public cloud is consuming. Stratoscale is changing all of this. We're actually bringing those services in the same AWS, in the same API that you're used from AWS, from the public cloud. We put it in the context of the enterprise environment, and within your own data center, you're able to consume services and actually focus on your business logic, okay? So in the business value, instead of managing services. Stratoscale is managing it for you. The basics for all this is the networking. Once networking is up and running and services are up and running, it's very easy to go ahead and do the hybrid DevOps flow, which is running all kinds of DevOps tools on top of Stratoscale Symphony, exactly as you do it on AWS. And this is the time to remind you guys that we have hybrid DevOps video channel on YouTube, go ahead and check out many of the videos. Many of them actually are based on your knowledge of VPC. So it's a good thing to first check out this webinar and then go on the videos, and don't forget to, of course, to subscribe. Before we begin the webinar, I'd like to know, where are you guys in networking? How are you using that? So please let us know if you're using a legacy or managing VPC using the UI, maybe Python SDK, or even all the way through Terraform. So please answer, and we'll continue in a few moments.
William Desert.
Okay, so I see from the poll that most of you are actually still using legacy, and some of you are using Terraform and even the UI. So you came to the right place. We're going to talk first about a little bit of legacy, and then we're going to talk about VPC and put it in the context of legacy networking. This is the goal of all the sessions that we're going to do, and the basic is networking. Three-tier application. That's the basic model of building applications in a cloud-native environment. First, we have the first tier. That's the public, the presentation, load balancers, and web-facing instances. Second tier is application, and the third tier, which is missing here, but we're going to attach it in the next sessions, is the data. The base of all of this is, of course, networking. So let's go ahead and see what exactly I mean by doing it in the networking. Before we begin, I want to emphasize something. When you create a project in Symfony, you can still use the legacy networking, and if you want to use VPC, you need to do it beforehand, and you cannot change it back. So if I'll do Liaz demo, then I need to choose to enable VPC, and then choose exactly what is the edge network that you're using. You know edge network from legacy networking. It's important to choose the edge networking beforehand, because in VPC, there's no such thing as choosing external networking from the user point of view. So the admin needs to tell it where it's going to consume all the external resources, such as elastic IPs, which is floating IPs. We're going to talk about it soon, where route tables are connected, and so on. So please remember, you need to create a project, then enable the VPC, choose edge network. Now let's go ahead and create our VPC. We start by a default VPC. Why do we have a default VPC? Default VPC was actually invented by the AWS in order to allow new customers to just go ahead and create a virtual machine without any knowledge in networking. Default VPC has everything just wide open and already connected, and if you do not declare anything in networking for AWS, your instances and so on will go directly on the default VPC. We're not going to take that approach. We're going to create our own VPC. So our own VPC will be demo 1. And here we're choosing the CIDR, the subnet. Now, it's very important to understand. VPC, a virtual public cloud, is a routing domain. That's an isolated routing domain. Routing domain means all the subnets, all the instances inside that routing domain are routable into each other, okay, in the L3 layer. So when you choose, and they all will be in that specific subnet. So everything will be carved out of this subnet. So make sure this subnet that you're choosing right now, this IP domain, is big enough to host all your future expansions. So I'm choosing a /16, which is hopefully big enough. I'm sure it's big enough. And this is it. We can choose right now the internet gateway, but we're going to do it in the next stage. And VPC is created. By the way, you can always see it in here in the overview. You can see that the VPC is already created. It is created with this icon that states default route table. We're going to talk about route tables in a second. Next, we're carving up subnets. Subnet is what you know from legacy networking as network. It's a broadcast domain, which you already know what is a broadcast domain, and all the subnets are routable into each other using an internal router you don't see. Everything happens behind the scene, and each one of the subnets is actually isolated within itself. So if you don't declare a route table external and so on, that subnet cannot be accessed other than other subnet in that VPC. So that's another kind of internal isolation. And if I go ahead to my UI, I'll just go ahead and create subnet, call it as subnet, choose the VPC I want it to be in, and of course I need to now carve out another VPC. Let's go 10. This one is 224. Okay, so for some reason I'm missing a VPC, but it doesn't really matter. Soon the subnet will be created. Okay, we can try to create it here. Okay. Okay, so I have some kind of UI issue, but anyway, this is how we're going to create the subnet. And we're going to go again, maybe. Okay, so subnet didn't create, and let's continue. So after we're creating the subnet, I can create the route table. The route table in the internet gateway actually means that I'll be able to access from the VPC outside. So internet gateway means that VPC is connected to the edge network that you've picked in when you created the project, if you remember that. And that basically doesn't mean anything other than this is it. Now we're allowing it to be attached to the edge network. And now we need to declare the routes. First, we have a route table. As I said, we have a default route table, but we're going to create a new one. So the default route table, we'll go here. Sorry, you're going to create a route table. Oh, I get it. I put it 26. Okay. So let's recreate the VPC. Demo 2, 172.21.00/16. So Liaz subnet, demo 2, 172.21.10.0/24. Okay, so now the subnet is created. Let's go ahead and create the route table. Now, first, let's create an internet gateway. So as I said, internet gateway means this VPC can be connected outside. Liaz, IGW, that's the VPC, demo 2, Here we go. Route table. Route table means we want to define exactly which subnet can be routed outside. So again, Liaz public route table. In that VPC. Now all I did is create a route table. I didn't give it any routes and so on. So let's wait until the route table will appear in the UI. There we go. So the local, that means anything within the VPC is routable into each other. So nothing special here. That's the basic rule of VPC. Let's create a new rule. A new rule says anything can be routed outside to the VPC internet gateway. That means outside to the edge network. We're going to talk about peering in one of the next sessions. So now I created in the public route table, whichever subnet is connected to the route table can be routed outside. Now let's associate my route here. That's my only subnet actually, and whoever is connected to that subnet can be routed outside, just like my diagram states, and you can see it here. So this is my architecture. I have VPC demo 2. I've got the public route table. The subnet is connected here, and as you can see, the public route table is directly connected to the IGW, and this actually direct connection to the edge from legacy point of view. So from legacy point of view, I actually have a domain and network connected to a vRouter, and that vRouter using the routes connected to the edge. Okay, the exactly same analogy. Last but not least, we have Elastic IP. Elastic IP in AWS means to have a floating IP, a public address that you can access from outside. Now it's important now to understand. In AWS, you have NAT gateways. In Symfony, you do not require NAT gateway. As soon as a network, such as Liaz subnet, is connected into a public route table, which is routed outside, anything from Liaz subnet will be connected outside. No need for a NAT gateway. But we can have a floating IP, okay, a public IP that goes outside. Now, an important thing to say. In AWS, we have Elastic IPs and public IPs. When in Symfony, we have only Elastic IPs, public IPs are right now not supported. So if you're migrating scripts from AWS to Symfony, please make sure you're using Elastic IPs and not public IPs. And of course, in this case, security groups are critical to ensure the safety of your instances. So let's see in real live action. Let's allocate an Elastic IP. Great. You can create a very simple instance. There's webinar, and we're going to put it in this instance here. So as soon as this instance will come up, I'll be able to go ahead and attach it into an Elastic IP, which are allocated before, and that's going to be basically my public accessible IPs from the outside. So as soon as it's going to spawn, we're going to do it. So this basically concludes our very basic introductions to virtual private cloud VPCs, the terms from AWS API, which we brought using Symfony into the public domain. Right now, it's still spawning, so as soon as it will be done spawning, I will attach it. I will attach the Elastic IP. So in the meanwhile, I think, oh, there you go. I'm going to choose a network interface. That's Elastic IP. Now it is attached. If I go to network overview here, you can see that Liaz webinar is connected to Lias subnet, Lias public route table, Lias IGW, and the floating AP, of course, is a resource on the edge network which Lias IGW is connected to. So I think this actually summarizes everything. And I would like to know what you want to hear next in the future sessions. So we have ability to talk about load balancers, manage Kubernetes, databases, maybe have a deeper dive into networking. Please tell me what you think right now. Okay, so I see that most of you would like actually a deeper dive into networking, which is great. Some of you want to hear about Kubernetes. So I think the next session we're gonna have a deeper dive into networking, featuring new features that we have in Symfony, VPC peering, DHCP options, maybe do some infrastructure as code, Terraform examples, and I'm excited to do that. Looking forward. And now it's time to Q&A. So if you have any questions, please come forward and ask. Okay, so I see here a question, is the route table highly available? So starting from 512, route tables are highly available across the node. So it's very easy to enable that. So that's for sure. Another question is I see here is where's the DHCP running in VPC? So DHCP requires a broadcast domain, and broadcast domain is in the subnet. So anytime you define a subnet, each subnet will have a DHCP, just like networks in legacy. And another question that I see here, where is the DNS defined in VPC? DNS defined in VPC, actually, confusingly enough, in DHCP options. We're going to cover that in the network deeper dive. And let's wait for the last question to come up. Which machines can access externally? Okay, we kind of answered that using the during the webinar. All machines can go outside if a subnet is connected to a public route table, and only machines that have elastic IPs can be accessed using their specific public IPs externally. So let's wait like a few more minutes to see if we have other questions before we sign off. Okay, this is it for now, looks like. So I would love to hear from you. That's my email. There's also Sharon's email. Any questions or comments or requests. Of course, there is a website and the GitHub with many examples. All of them are actually based on VPCs, and we have many VPC examples over there. And it's a good time to remind you to subscribe to our video channel. And I want to thank you for attending this webinar, and I hope to see you soon in the future webinars. Thank you very much.